a very good morning to our guest for this video interaction during this lockdown phase of COVID-19. Thank you so much, Mr. Thimmaiah Napanda, Vice President, India and Australia for Meritor Inc., and also the Managing Director and CEO for Meritor India. Thank you so much, Mr. Thimmaiah, for joining us today.
Good morning, Bala. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to talk to you, and through you probably give my insight to the people who are interested to know what's happening in our industry. Thank you very much.
Definitely, sir. We'll be glad to hear from you. Looking forward to your views as well. We will start down with the current scenario at Meritor India. How has the entire COVID-19 pandemic, what kind of an impact has it had on your business? And what is the current state of affairs at your facilities, at your offices? If you can start off with an update, please.
No, I think, Bala, our primary focus was whenever this pandemic started, at least hitting India, our primary focus was the safety and health of our employees. We have done a lot of work in all our facilities to ensure that our employees are safe, and fortunately and by God's grace, till now we don't have a single incident of the impact for our employees. So as you know, between us and our joint venture Automotive Axles, we have around 6 sites, manufacturing and distribution, head office, everything put together. We have around 6 sites in Mysore, Bangalore, Hosur, Pantnagar, Pune, Jamshedpur, all put together. And whenever we initially lockdown, we all asked our employees to stay back and take care of themselves. But when we restarted our business around 2 weeks back, the one of the important parameter for us was, safety. So we initiated a process called Safe Start process. So then we took all the guidelines wherever available from various other industries, from the government of India guidelines, and also Meritor globally came up with a very good SOP in terms of how to restart safely in all the facilities. And we adopted and we prepared our checklist, and I personally monitor the preparedness as well as the adherence and compliance on daily basis at all our sites, and all the social distancing norms, the temperature checking, most of these protocols are being followed by majority of the places. And also we have changed our even the factory layout to some extent to ensure that there is a safe distance is maintained. Some cases where it was not possible, we have ensured that there is either a physical transparent barrier to ensure that there is a safe distance is being maintained. That's on the safety perspective. Coming back to operations, as you can see, automotive industry is still not started according to me, right? Even though all the manufacturing OEMs and all of us have started working for the perspective, but really there is not much of production is happening, not much of sales is happening, and people are not producing and pushing into the market yet. So they all want to see the demand. Because of the situation is still not good in India, the dealership network need to open up, right? Ultimately, when the dealership network gets opened up, people will walk into the dealers, then start the inquiry, and then start placing order. The entire supply chain will only start working then. So we don't see much of activity at this point of time, but we are ensuring that our machines are well oiled, and we are becoming very agile in terms of whatever it is required. We will support the OEMs and make sure that the products are getting delivered to them. So it's a very slow start, and for this quarter, probably I'm considering it's like a wash, right? April was 0 and May is very small, and maybe June, I'm hopeful that things will start looking up a bit in June. So let's see. But overall, my view is, by June, mid-June, and we will come to know, how the market is going to behave.
Right, sir. Thank you for that update. As you might be following, we are talking to industry experts in the commercial vehicle space in India, from the OEM side, and more importantly from the tier one component supplier side. So Meritor being a global tier one component supplier and system solution provider, what do you think different stakeholders in the CV industry in India should or can do to actually handle this crisis in the most efficient manner and also come out of it stronger than before? Say the OEMs, at the tier one suppliers like yourself, the dealerships, and more importantly, the fleet operators. What should everybody be doing to handle this crisis in your view?
Okay. So, in terms of my personal view is, which is little bit contradict to what probably others would say, and the number one point I will say is, I think we need to little bit generate demand, to make the wheels moving. We need to generate demand. What does it generate demand means? There should be some kind of push sales should happen initially. If you wait for the pull to happen and then you say that, okay, when the customers will come, they place the order, then I'll start producing. I think most of the OEMs are thinking that way. We will wait for the order to come and then we will produce and then ship. My view would be little contrary. So I would say that in the OEM should at least start little bit of push sales to initially, because everything has come to a standstill, right? Last 2-3 months, everything is come to a standstill. People will be really worried about, whether the demand is going to come back, whether the overall economy, how it goes. A lot of trucks are still not plying in the market. Maybe 50-60% is just plying on the roads. So unless every truck fleets has starts being utilized, why anybody would buy a new vehicle, right? That's one thing. And also the finance issue is there, and then nobody knows when this thing is going away, and we don't know. So everybody are cautious to say that, okay, what will happen 1 month down the line, 2 months, nobody knows. So nobody want to spend any money at this point of time as an investment, right? So at least now the economy is little bit of getting opened up. My view is we have to do a little bit of push sales to ensure that the machinery starts working and the balls start rolling. So this would be, I would say, just in the initial phase. I'm not saying that too much of push, but at least till at least 25%, 30% of the normal level should start happening on a monthly basis in terms of the sales and production. Then only the entire every sentiment will also come back, and people, that's what I would say we should do. And that I don't know who need to do it, right? Whether the dealer side, the OEM side, we should do that, and who will take that call, right? It's not easy decision as well. If you do a push sales and then it's going the inventory gets stuck in dealers, then that's an additional burden on the entire company. So it's a very difficult decision, and I'm not sure that will help, but this is my view. Okay, that's the one in terms of the demand. But in terms of what we need to do is, I would we have discussed in our organization a very detail with my leadership team. There are 4 things we are now trying to incorporate into our existing strategy. Number one is, how fast we will recover our revenue, what we will do to recover revenue, not just going and selling more, but how do we create a startup mindset in our organization with our people. So how do we make them more agile? What kind of business model we need to adapt into it? We need to think about what is the new business model we need. What is the new method of customer engagement? Today, you can't just go and meet customers and engage with them. We need to adapt into a new customer engagement method. The easy thing is, we'll start disengaging with the customer. So we need to ensure that we engage with them in a new way. Then we also need to see, can we utilize this as an opportunity, this crisis as an opportunity. Go and talk to the OEMs and find out what import substitution they are looking for. People like us, can we provide those in import substitution? I think that's one important thing we need to see. And also analyze within our organization to see that post COVID, what would be what will the customer value? Maybe what customer used to value from us may be different in post COVID. So we need to really assess and see that and adapt ourselves into that kind of a scenario, and continue to identify the new opportunity. I think I club all these 4-5 points in terms of revenue recovery. And the second point I would say is rebuild operations. Very, very important, right? The way we used to operate, before, it has to be totally different. We have taken one more initiative called how do we completely reset our cost, right? Take this opportunity, go back and reset our cost base, and reduce the break-even point. That's the second thing we are doing. And then on low cost, we have to be very low cost and high flexibility, right? Nobody knows what to produce at this point of time. Nobody will give you the forecast and model and what to produce. So you need to be extremely flexible and agile to respond to the customer needs in terms of whatever he wants. How can we provide that particular product range and product specifications? And the third one within this, I would say, is supply chain reorientation. So I think we need to totally look into our supply chain and see if we can completely reorient the supply chain, because that's very, very key for us, right? Because you never know who's going to be remaining, who will not be there. So whether do we need that kind of a supply chain, what changes we need to do for the supply chain, etc. I think this is the second, I would say. That the third one would be accelerate digitization. The way we work is going to completely change. So we need to now accelerate digitization, industry 4.0 in the factories, in the products. Can we put IoT into our products to capture and provide more and more opportunity for people to remotely manage things. I think that's the thing. And documentation management, remote documentation management, and also digitizing across all departments, functions, and processes. The other important thing I would say in digitization is, can we now start using use of artificial intelligence? We normally in our business, automotive, we are still not using that much. So now we need to see that if we can start adapting into that kind of environment, what artificial intelligence can do to us. So overall, I think we need to really work on minimizing dependency and maximize the digitization adoption within our factories. I think from my perspective, we have been working on digitization since a few years in our factories and in our processes, and adapting the industry 4.0 concept into our, the new manufacturing line last year we have installed in Mysore is total industry 4.0 compliant. There is no doc paper, there is no document, nobody signs, nobody writes anything. Everything is digitized. Even the process sheets and work instructions are digitized. There's a computer monitor with a file which will continue to run and show him how to assemble, rather than he looking into a process sheet, etc. So I think we have done a lot of work on the digitization side in our factories. And the fourth one I would say is the realigning the organization. Right now we need to look into our organization structure and see what changes we need for our organization structure to be more agile, more fast, and also more efficient and more productive. So I think that's what we need to do, which should give you more faster and flatter decision making adoption. So I think these are the new way of working, and we are also talking about work from home, etc. I think initial feedback, at least from my view, initially few weeks, I think it worked very well. But now I see that little bit lethargy is coming, and I don't know. Still, I can't put my finger and say that whether automotive industry will adapt into a work from home policy or not. No, I'm not sure, because this is not. We can't make these policies. This is a big policy decision for our industry. We can't make these decisions based on 2-3 weeks performance, right? And we have to be flexible to see that if required, we can send people home and work, and if not, and we actually speaking, we adopted the work from home policy very well. When the COVID happened, I never did that in our, at least I would say that never in our lifetime. Like any other automobile industry, but we adopted it very well. We our engineering. Even the productivity went up in the initial few weeks compared to what they used to do sitting in office. I think we are continues to operate at around 25-30% in office. The rest of the people, we are operating in work from home on a rotation basis. but we are really monitoring with me and my HR. We are really monitoring: is it the right thing to do in the long-term perspective, mid-term perspective, or whenever the situation improves, will we get everybody back, or we'll adapt some. And today, if you ask me, I don't know, right? Because initially the feedback was very good. Now I see that, little bit, because it's very, very difficult for, in our industry to monitor and put a, scorecard or a productivity tool and say that whether people are productive or not productive. And maybe, whether it will slowly, the things will deteriorate, or, that we need to watch out. Again, it's great, but still we have to be extremely watchful to see that what need to be done. Okay, that's one thing. Just to give me a sec, I'll just put my computer. Bala, how do we revenue recovery, rebuild operations, accelerate digitization, and realign organization are the 4 new things which we are adopting, integrating into our strategy document, so that we are ahead of the rest of the people and ahead of the curve, and serve the market and customers well.
Fantastic, sir. I mean, you've actually given a very, very comprehensive, layout on what is actually being done at Meritor India. And you also started off by saying what the industry should do, typically your views. I think that was very interesting as well. It was definitely, as you said, slightly different from what most of the others in the industry are feeling. But I think you had your own justification and explanation, which seemed to make a lot of sense. So, and another thing I just got a sense, looking at the preparedness at your end for this entire crisis and to come out of it, it I think clearly shows the agility and responsiveness of a global tier 1 supplier. That is something for everybody to really look into and probably have some takeaways as well. It's fantastic, sir. Obviously, the government is involved. They have a very big role to play to help the economy come back to its feet. And then to our industry, the automotive and commercial vehicle industry, to actually come back and get into a better phase. Unfortunately, the CV industry was already doing very badly even before the crisis. So this has probably been more than anybody could handle or expect. What do you think the government can do to actually get our industry sentiments back on track and also drive demand for new vehicles?
Bala, as you rightly said, our industry was almost 50% down last year, right? And from there, 50% down, and then we enter into a COVID situation. Then people are predicting that there will be a contraction in GDP. We really don't know, how the industry is going to behave. So my personal view is the government has got a lot of experts, and they exactly probably know what to do, and probably they are doing it. But so if you ask me, my perspective, I would just say 3 things. If we can do that, very important thing is, number 1, bring out the scrapping policy as soon as possible, right? It may not generate a lot of demand, but that will also give you a lot of sentiment into the people in terms of at least that will make, okay, I have 20 trucks, I have to scrap it. Okay, let me at least buy 5 trucks, right? The new trucks. So that will improve. One is, of course, demand, and also the sentiment, and translate into the demand. I think that's one thing, we should do as soon as possible. It should not, we have been talking about this since many, many years now, right? For at least 3-4 years. And I think that should happen, number 1. Number 2 is, start spending money at infrastructure, give some advance to the contractors, and tell them that go and buy machineries, right? Otherwise, we need an immediate, demand generation to happen. So maybe give advance to the contract to the people, or whoever people are contracted on infrastructure development, and give them advance and say that, okay, I'm giving you so much money, go and buy equipment out of this money, right? So that, automatically the demand generation will happen. Even though, immediately if it doesn't require, still if you, force them to buy by giving some money, right? Advance you have to give, otherwise they can't manage. I think infrastructure actual spend need to be done. Monitor the spend and ensure that there are people spending on infrastructure, and contracts are awarded and spend happens. Third one is, somehow, again, I don't know how, but the government should put money into people's hand, whether it is individual consumers, whether it is contractors, whether it is entrepreneurs, whether it is enterprises, somehow you need to put money into people's hand and encourage them to spend money, right? I think that's very, very important. These are the only three things I would say that, the government should do. See, one thing I'm very cautious about is now a lot of people are got used to the essential and non-essential, right? In COVID time, we all said that, okay, you will get only the essential, non-essential, you can't buy, you're not able to buy any non-essential item. Now, will it shift the mindset of the people in terms of overall purchasing? Will people think that, okay, I live 3 months with essentials. Do I really require these non-essential ones to be bought? And if that's very interesting to see whether, but if you really see when the e-commerce started, my family, at least I can see that they started buying non-essential, but I'm just seeing that will this non-essential purchase will go back into the pre-COVID period. That's very interesting to see. And if that happens, I think we'll come back faster. Otherwise, I think it will take a lot of time.
Interesting views, or especially on the essential, non-essential debate. I think that will be something for us to wait and watch. How things pan out, how consumer mindset, whether it really changes, right? But I think your requests or probably expectations from the government are quite fair. I think scrappage policy remains to be on top of most people's wish list, and that should definitely be driving growth in the market. You did touch upon the opportunities when you spoke about what each stakeholder should be doing, and you spoke about import substitution. Can you tell us a little bit more on, do you see a supply chain shift from a market like China to India? Because that is something that's been talked about, in many forums right now, given the entire pandemic association with China. So do you see India gaining any significant advantage as a result of this COVID? That is one. And number two, the reverse. What impact do you think the pandemic will have on exports out of India?
No, my personal view is based on what I read from various, country leaders and the business leaders. They're talking about, China. Everybody are skeptical about China, right? Always they're all skeptical about China as a country. But still, people have went and put in a lot of investment and made China as a global sourcing hub, and not for the local consumption. Local consumption, of course, people will go and do it, but as an export from China, out of China, they went and invested a lot of money and made it happen. But I think this probably given a jolt to people to really say that in the long-term perspective, that is the right strategy or not. And as I read from newspapers and media, a lot of people are talking about getting out of China. I think if you take in the emerging country, right, India is one of the top country in the emerging countries where we have we have raw material, we have resources, the people, the skill, we we are in the top in terms of all the resources and capability, and it's a natural pull. And also we are a democratic country, and it's a natural pull that somebody should look at India as the alternate base. But if somebody wants to pull out of China, they'll also try to put a lot of things back in their own countries as well, right? This is my personal view. So, but whatever is available, I think India stands chance to attract. And I think we need to do everything possible to ensure that we deliver to the global cost and global quality requirements. And you use this opportunity to pull a lot of these companies who intend to move out.
Right, sir. Right. Understandable. When you shared your views with us a month ago, you had indicated, when we spoke about the outlook for the current year, for the market, and also for your business, you had indicated a very interesting point, which will completely be agreeable. We always get our predictions wrong. That is something which most people feel is very difficult. Nobody has a crystal ball to gaze into. But still, we'd like to know your views. We've come, we've crossed more than 2 months of lockdown during this crisis. Given the current state of affairs, how do you see the current, financial year panning out for the industry and also for Meritor India? We understand Meritor has a slightly different financial year timing, but if you can give your view on the current and the next year as well, for our knowledge.
Yeah. No, I think I'll stick to what I said last time. I don't think anybody has a clue or idea in terms of what would be the market. And not only now, if you go back to all these big guys who, forecast the market, I don't think anybody have got it right any time. Go back to 5 years and say what these, the top guys have told about what would be the market 5 years later. It will be totally off. And go back to 10 years and see what happened in 5 years back. I don't think anybody got the market right. So yeah, still, everybody need to do their job. They keep predicting. I would say that, we really don't know what's going to happen. As I said, that nobody gets it right. As always, nobody gets it right. So, what my personal view is, because the commercial vehicle inventory is almost come to zero by end of March because of the BS4, BS6 transition. I think production will be definitely more than the actual sales, the demand, because this little bit of pipeline inventory would get filled up and added over a period of time. So I personally believe that compared to last year, there should not be a significant reduction. That's my personal belief. But however, as I said, that we have to be extremely agile and flexible to adapt to whatever happens.
Yeah, I think that will be more pragmatic as well, rather to attach a number to the sales for this year. I'll probably do a couple of last questions, sir. One, on the medium to long term, do you see this pandemic leaving what kind of impact on, do you think it will leave on the Indian market and to your business plans at Meritor India?
No, I think whatever our next plan, whatever we do, 3-year, 5-year plan, I think that would probably get pushed by a year or two. This is my personal view. But Bala, to be very honest, we don't know. The commercial vehicle market, I'm in this automobile business last 30 years, right? Automotive industry. It goes down 40%, comes up 60%, goes down 20%, comes back 40%. We never know. And every time it touches the new peak, it is always a new peak. So I'm hopeful that, maybe we'll hit a new peak in next 4 years, 5 years down the line. So which is like, if you see M&HCV 7.5 ton and above, the peak market last time was around 465,000 level. And I'm hopeful that we hit the new peak in 5 years from now.
Okay, that'll be
good.
To
cycle is right. If you see last 4-5 cycle, that's how it's happened, right? It will go down 30, 40, 50%, then comes back to a new peak 5 years later.
True, sir. Yeah, it'll be good to see the market coming back to some growth phase. I mean, we've been in a slowdown for a very, very long time. One last thing, since you're also the vice president for the Australian market for Meritor Inc., could you also share some insights from what's happening in Australia? That will be a very interesting thing to hear from you, Mr. Thimmaiah.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. See, Australia, somehow they manage this COVID situation very, very well. What I heard from Australia now is they are almost into double-digit level per day rate. Infected rate since last almost a month. They are almost in a negligible stage compared to any of us comparatively. Any other developed countries or developing countries, they are in a very, very good shape. They also went on into some closure and lockdowns in a partial way in the beginning. But mainly our customers in Australia are 3 customers. We have Packard, the DAF Packard, and Volvo Mac and Iveco. So they all started full-fledged production from April 21st, Packard started, and May 10th, Volvo Mac started. So they are now full-fledged, they're producing, and our factory in Australia is working full-fledged. Even though the levels are lower and we had that 1 month impact, but I think we're back to normal expected level in terms of production and sales in Australia already.
Glad to note that, sir. Glad to note that. And they've really done well to actually come out of the crisis, given their safety standards and precautions and all that. Right? So thank you so much, Mr. Thimmaiah. We will just request you for some parting words to whoever is watching this video, your view or message to them during this crisis and this lockdown phase, if you may.
No, I think first message would be, to all of you, stay safe and take care of your family and employees. and ensure that the social distancing norms are maintained, and prevent the spread in whatever way possible. Please help the needy people. That would be the second message. And as a personal level, at a company level, whatever is possible, please help the people who are suffering. And third is, be agile and flexible as an organization. Reduce your cost and get ready for the future. And market is going to come back someday, but go ensure that we survive this downturn and be ready for the next phase of growth.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Thimmaiah, for your time and for sharing some very, very valuable insights with us. It was a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thank you, Bala.